Alright guys, so today we're taking a look at the TACForce TF-705 pocket knife. It's a nice little spring assisted flipper, pretty nice, so let's get straight to it. We're going to start with the packaging actually. Set the knife aside. Very simple, not much to go over, it's just a cardboard box, and I mean there's pretty much nothing else in it. But I mean that's okay, you don't really need anything else. Of course that does mean it does not come with a sheath, but it does have a pocket clip, so that's no problem. As you probably know, this has an excellent price of about $10 on Amazon. It varies a little bit, but that's about what it is. Oh, I just dropped the box. That's about what it is, so, yeah, that's super impressive for what you're getting. In terms of the purpose of this knife, pretty much it's going to be an EDC knife. Although for some of you this may not be high enough quality for EDC, which is fine. It's also just perfect for you to throw it in a bag, throw it in a car, and then forget about it until you need to use it. So it'll be super useful for something like that. Starting with the externals, I guess, it's very simple. It looks pretty unique actually. I got this in this tactical camo type of finish, but it comes in a huge variety of finishes, everything from hot pink to rainbow. So, pretty cool, you have a lot of options there. Why does it look like, no, it's in focus, never mind. Okay. As you can see, it does wear off kind of quickly, if you can probably tell there. Kind of getting a little bit of wear, but that's okay, because some of you may even like that, used, worn, kind of rugged look. It's going to measure in at 4.5 inches tip to tip when it's closed. If you open it, blade 3.5 inches. It does have, as I was saying, a belt clip, and it's actually very impressively sturdy. Like, it's very stiff and quite large. So that's super nice to have. It is lightweight. It's under 5 ounces. However, some of you may be more used to something like a Benchmade. They're going to be even lighter. But if you're used to a Benchmade, you're probably not going to be looking at this. And this is still light enough that it'll fit in a pocket, it's no problem. You will feel it in your pocket, but it's still light enough that it won't bother you necessarily. Yeah, the actual grip scales are aluminum. As you can see, they're kind of uniquely shaped and textured. It's kind of odd how they've done it, because in your hand, it's not like your fingers fit in these grooves. You hold it like this, right? Or like this. So I don't know why they decided to do that. It's not fantastic. The ergonomics could definitely be better. As you can see, this part is pretty thin and a little bit sharp. It's not sharp, but it's just thin, And same with the top part here. So, yeah, I'm gonna stop this down a bit so you guys can get more depth of field. That's a bit better. Anyways, as I was saying, so the ergonomics could be better. It's definitely good enough for daily use, but if you compare it to something like a really nice knife, you're gonna notice it. Especially because this is cold hard metal, which some of you may like, and I personally do like that. I like that the grip is metal, it's aluminum as I said, but you do want to make it more ergonomic than this, because if you really try to grab it hard, it's gonna start hurting your hand. As I was saying, this knife is spring assisted, but it is not spring loaded. So this is not an automatic knife. Spring assisted means that it has a spring inside that assists so I can't just press a button and it'll open. That would be an automatic knife. That's illegal in most places, but this is legal in nearly every state, because you have to flip it manually with the flipper, and then the spring takes over and kind of flicks it out. As you can see, it is a very nice opening knife actually. Opens very easily, very smoothly. However, I have seen smoother, because I don't know if you guys probably can't hear this, but I can feel just a little bit of grit in there. And that's even after backing off some of these screws. This knife tends to bind up if you tighten these screws too much, which is true for any knife, but oddly enough, even this screw, it tends to pinch the blade. But we'll go over that a little bit later. The blade, as you can see, is not terribly thick. It's just over, I think, a 1/16 of an inch, maybe. So you're probably not going to want to be prying stuff with this, because as you can see, there's a decent amount of flex in it. I'd be afraid of it snapping. And then there is some flex, not flex, but play in that joint. However, unfortunately, if I tighten that screw down any farther, then the knife is going to bind. So that's a bit unfortunate, but I mean, deal with it. It's a $10 knife. What do you expect? The blade itself is made of, I think it was 440 stainless steel according to TAC Oh, in addition to that, the flipper opening, while it doesn't have a thumb stud, if you like, I don't know, injured your pointer finger or something, you can open it kind of awkwardly. Oh, I see, it's very awkward, but there you go. It's not designed to do that, I don't think, but it is doable for if you have your pointer fingers messed up for some reason. But at that point, I definitely recommend getting a knife with a dedicated thumb stud. As you can see, it is also one-handed closing. So it is liner lock, you know, tried and true mechanism, nothing fancy. There are better systems out there, but this is tried and true, nice and durable, very simple. So if you pressed on the liner lock this way to close with your thumb, and you kind of flick that blade down halfway, you can close it the rest of it with your thumb. So that's pretty convenient. There is one more thing I forgot to mention, and that's that it has this kind of multifunctional glass breaker slash screwdriver, as they call it, on the tip. I haven't tested it for a glass breaker. It's sharp, but it doesn't really come to a point. It comes to more of an edge. So I don't know how effective that would be at breaking glass. I know most glass breakers are more of like a pointy edge, you know. I mean, a pointy, like a tip, if that makes sense, like a pen tip. While this is more of a flat edge. So it's sharp, but I don't know how well it works. I'd have to test it out, and I don't want to test it out on my car for obvious reasons. I don't know if you should trust your life with that, but I guess it's better than nothing. Also, this part is supposed to act as a bottle opener. Also, for obvious reasons, I am underage, so I have not tested that. But I'll take their word for it and assume it works. Now, let's talk about the blade. So, as you can see, I got some scratches on it because I've used this knife quite a lot, and I got some super glue on the end. Don't mind me there. That's my bad. But as you can see, this knife only comes in essentially half flat and half serrated. As I said earlier, 3.5. Actually, it's under 3.5. It's more like 3.25 inches. TAC logo right there. But the blade does come nice and sharp. It's not really razor sharp, but it is relatively sharp. What can you expect for a $10 knife, you know? It's not going to be anything like a Swiss Army knife, but it will do the job. Now, these teeth are actually pretty nice. They are nice and deep, and you can get them really, really sharp. They come pretty sharp, but you can get them really sharp if you have one of those knife sharpeners with a rod on it. Oh, sorry. You can kind of get the rod in there, which is how I got these scratches. Jeez, the wind is picking up. Can you guys even hear me? I hope you can. Other side of the blade, you can see nothing special there. It just says it's stainless steel, USA design. Of course, this knife is made in China for $10. What do you expect? And that's about it for this blade. I mean, it's pretty simple and not much to go over. Oh, and of course the serrations, that'll come down to personal preference in terms of if you want that or not. As I said, there's no other option with this knife. You're gonna have to go for another knife if you don't like the serrations. But I found them to be quite useful, you know, especially when they're this sharp. Well, of course, the big downside would be that you're kind of losing half your effective cutting length on each tool. This is better for stuff like rope and something like, oh, I don't know, maybe even cardboard, just anything where you don't really need a fine, precise cut. And this is more for fine precision cutting. But yeah, it is nice to have both. I personally haven't even decided whether on my next knife I'm gonna have both or only gonna have a flat edge, because I am incapable of decision making, and that's okay. But yeah, that's about it for this blade. Now, I think we're gonna hop inside and take a look at this knife internally, break it down, see what the quality is like inside. So that should be exciting for a $10 knife. Let's get to it. Alrighty, so we've gone indoors now, and we're gonna take a look at the internals by taking this knife apart. So let's get started. First, you need to absolutely make sure the blade is open when you do this, because that will relieve our spring tension. And then we should just need some torque screwdrivers. So let's see. Let me just test this out. It's very hard to do this with the camera. Yeah, it looks like a T7 bit. So you will need a precision screwdriver kit. I don't know how many of you are going to have one, but we're just going to take a look on the inside to see what's going on. Oh, that's not supposed to happen. Just one more screw here. Okay. So those are the 3 small screws holding that scale in place. Now, of course, we have our main one that our blade pivots on. Alright, so at this point there should be no spring tension, but we're just gonna be extra. What is that? Oh, the screw came off with it. Whoops. But we're just gonna be. Focus. There we go. We're just gonna be extra careful when we take it apart. Come on. You're not gonna come apart for me. That one screw's not quite out. This one's being just a little bit stubborn for us here. There we go. Alright, so now we have this scale. Try not to lose any of the screws. This is just one of the grip scales. And now we are inside, so let's take a look here. Okay, so actually this whole assembly just came off, but this was actually under the scale, so another plate, and this is what the spring rests on. This is where your spring assist happens. So you don't want to move that because you don't want to have to deal with repositioning it, because that can be a huge pain in the ass. It does have some grease on it, so we're just not going to worry about that. Alright, and then here we go. So I mean, it's a very simple design. We can see that based on this. Oh, this will also come off, I believe. Based on this, the liner lock here. Oh, I'm dropping everything. That's fine. All those little parts go off to the side. Just don't lose them. This liner lock is built into the frame, so there's no additional spring or anything. It's just a solid piece of metal that relies on the tension of the piece of metal. And that's pretty good. Very simple. We do have a little bit of wear, it looks like, on this, which is to be expected. It's very dry in here, actually. It's almost bone dry. So we're definitely going to want to lubricate that to make it open a little bit smoother. Now, taking a look at our blade. If I can pick it up. Hold on, I dropped a washer. Okay, so on either side of the blade, we have two plastic bushings, or washers rather. It's kind of interesting that they're plastic. I don't know why they would do that. I would think it would make it squeak and or rub together, but I mean, I guess the knife opens. It has a tendency to stick a little bit sometimes though. So I guess it's just to save money. Now for the blade. This is not focusing well today at all. There we go. Okay, so we can see the blade has quite a bit of wear on it actually. Wow. So all that friction is contributing to it not opening very smoothly, which is kind of unfortunate. This is just kind of a one-piece design here. This isn't a separate bushing in the middle, it's just wear. And it's kind of unfortunate that there's no bushing. I think most of these knives have like a brass bushing, so that it wears in well, but not this knife. Save money, I guess. But I mean, that's fine. So I'm gonna put it back together and lubricate everything. But yeah, that's just a quick internal overview. Really nothing special. Very simple design, but honestly they could be using higher quality parts. Alright guys, so I think it's time to wrap up this review of the TACForce TF-705. As you can probably see, it's a really nice little knife for the money. The internals could use a bit of work, you know, it could be a bit better, could be smoother, and of course it could have a bit less play. I wouldn't complain about that at all. But, you know, what you're getting for the money, a $10 knife, I don't think you can really beat this. There are other alternatives on the market around this price range, but they're all, I mean, let's be honest, they're all almost identical. You know, it's going to be a little bit different styling, but the actual material quality, stuff like that, pretty much identical at this price point. So for this price, you're really not going to beat it. And really, if you think about it, you lose pocket knives so often. Do you really need something like a Benchmade 940 when you can just have a bunch of these? You know, it'll get the job done pretty much just as well. You may not have as much fun doing it because it may not look as good, it may not feel as good, but at the end of the day, for most people, a knife is for working. If you're a knife collector, of course, or if you're what you'd consider a knife guy, that's a different story. But for those of you who just want a nice practical knife for everyday use, this is definitely a knife to look at for just, what was it? $10. So thank you guys so much for watching. I just saw a tiny little baby bunny, which is adorable, but I'm gonna call it a day here. So as I said, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.